back to the Healthy Living, Happy Life podcast. I'm so glad you're here with me today. I'm Denise Segal, your host here. And today I want to share a story that really resonated with me and got me thinking about how we live our lives, about our choices, and how we can actually create a slower, more intentional life right where we are, right here in our own homes, in our own communities. So, my friend Elizabeth recently shared her story about her and her husband moving to Mexico 8 years ago. And I did talk to Elizabeth, so I do have her permission to talk about this because she really did get me thinking, and I understand more about her. I've known Elizabeth for quite a few years now, but I never knew the story about why she and her husband wanted to move to Mexico from Texas, where they lived. Essentially, they were searching for a different way of life, right? A slower paced, more intentional lifestyle that was aligned with their core values. This is something that I talk about every now and then, core values, why this is important for you to know what those are, because those are really your driving forces that help you make the decisions that you do. Right. So I did find that hearing this story really did fascinate me. And I really understood as she described this simpler lifestyle, having fewer possessions, deeper connections, which is really, really important, something we are really missing out on nowadays, especially these years after COVID. We really have not gotten back into the practice of being with people and connecting with people on a regular basis. And truly, the other piece is having enriching experiences. We do a lot here, right? We're busy, always running from place to place, thing to do, whatever it is, right? But I did find myself wondering, now we can't all move to Mexico. A lot of us don't want to move to Mexico. I'm very happy where I am. I'm first generation American. I'm very proud of that. So I want to stay in the US. But I thought, why couldn't I create, or the rest of us create this experience right in our own neighborhoods, in our own towns, our cities, right? I know that I've learned that living with less, fewer possessions, except shoes. I got a ton of shoes, can't get rid of those. And prioritizing what really matters to me actually brings peace, it brings joy, it brings ease, it brings flow into life. I think these are things that we're all searching for, but we don't really know how to find them. Decluttering my house, which I do more often than not, I truly find when I declutter my house, I'm decluttering my mind as well. Just this past weekend, I went through a bunch of paperwork, things that through the years, freebies that I've found on about coaching and about lifestyle, about all sorts of things that I've printed out and never again looked at, read, or used. I threw it all out. Okay. I was so excited to throw these things out that I've been holding on to. And you know what? My office was cleaner. It felt lighter. I felt happier because all of this stuff, clutter kind of weighs you down. I've also realized that intentional choices allow us to create a life that we want, no matter where we live, right? I love going to Mexico for vacation. For me, it's the perfect place. That it's warm. I love the beach. I love watching the whales. I had the best whale watching experience one year. Mark and I did, just sitting on the beach, and the whales were going crazy. We were down in Cabo, but I couldn't see myself living there. One, my family is in New Jersey. There are things that I really love to do, concerts. I love exploring the United States. We go every year, every 2 years, we go to a national park. There's so many incredible places to see here and things to experience. So as much as I love to travel, I really love to be home. I love my house. I love that we have 3 acres. And that in itself actually is part of, living this life that you desire, as opposed to living a life that is just kind of happening to you. You're not really making decisions. Things are just kind of happening. We're doing a lot of things we should do, right? So today I want to dive into how you can create this kind of life with ease and flow and purpose in your own community. Even if your own community is in your own house, if it's just you or you and your family, and then you extend it out. This is an amazing, life-changing practice. So here, of course, I'm going to share some practical tips, some personal insights, and some advice from experts to help you live more intentionally, cultivate deeper connections. And when I think about that, years ago, my husband used to say to me, "Oh my gosh, Denise, I hate going to the supermarket with you. You know everyone, so you should run for mayor, because you just know everyone." And I thought about that. I do know a lot of people, but do I have deep connections with those people? No, I do not. I have connections with some people. But I thought about that. Who do I want to have these deep connections with? Do I have that connection with these people, these particular people? If I don't, why not? And how am I going to cultivate that? Also, we want to find peace and calm in everyday life, right? We in the US, we wear busy like a badge of honor. And truly, it's got to stop, right? We rush from task to task. We're always juggling responsibilities. And then at the end of the night, we crash into bed, and then because we're exhausted, and then we lie awake because our brain is racing, right? This is endless cycle that takes a toll on our mental, emotional, and physical health, right? So what happens when we're not sleeping? Stress disrupts our sleep, disrupts our hormones. And ladies, if we're in midlife, our hormones are already disrupted and doing goofy things, right? We don't need to be doing things to make it worse, right? Our metabolism is slowing down. We want to rev that up. But if we're not sleeping and our hormones are screwed up, we're just screwing up our whole metabolism, right? We're gaining weight, one, because we're not sleeping and our hormones are off. We're so close to burnout and adrenal fatigue. That doesn't sound like a very fun life that I want to live. Does it you? Well, I'm going to venture to say probably not, right? So what if you could break this cycle? Slowing down isn't just about doing less just for the sake of it, right? It's not like I'm telling you, no, just be lazy, lie around the couch all day, do nothing. It's really about creating a space for what actually truly matters to you, right? So Dr. Sandra Dalton Smith, she wrote a book called Sacred Rest. And she says, we must reclaim rest as an essential part of productivity. I love that. Resting, slowing down doesn't mean that we still can't be productive in our work, in our relationships, in our home, right? That's different. We can still be productive by slowing down and actually focusing on the things that matter. So take a moment to think about this. What would slowing down look like to you? What does it look like? Maybe it's setting 10 minutes aside every day for quiet reflection, for journaling, perhaps simplifying your schedule, right? You ever look at your schedule? Do you ever actually write everything on your schedule? I do that. So I know everything that I'm supposed to do, that I am going to do, or have said that I was going to do, right? It's all on my calendar. If it's not on the calendar, it doesn't exist. But what if I take a look at that calendar, and I do this every week, usually on a Friday, I look at the next week and I go, what can I get rid of? What are things that I said, I put on my calendar that really don't resonate with me, right? I kind of feel like if it's not a hell yes, then it's pretty much a hell no, right? So creating more space in your calendar, give you more breathing room. I mean, seriously, how many times have you booked your schedule back to back and forgotten that when you leave coffee with your friend Sam and your next meeting, you leave the meeting or the coffee at 9:30, but your other meeting starts at 9:30. Oops, you've screwed up your schedule. Now what's happening is you have to leave coffee early with Sam and to get to the meeting that's at 9:30, and now you're stressed and running late and your whole demeanor is in disarray. You're stressed, you're frustrated, you're frazzled, right? All because your schedule was so busy. Okay, so whatever that is that looks like to you, like I said, take 10 minutes in the morning, drink your coffee. This is actually something I do. I make my coffee in the morning. I sit just for 10 minutes, however long it takes to drink the coffee. I don't read. I don't talk. I don't journal. I just sit. It's a nice way to start the morning, let me tell you. So let's talk about living in the moment. Living in the moment. We are always focused on the next thing, right? What's the next thing we got to do? What's the next, you reach a goal. What's the next goal we got to reach? What's the next higher thing, the next big, best thing that there is, right? When we do that, we really miss the richness of what's happening in the present moment. We neglect to actually celebrate and enjoy those successes. Big or small, doesn't matter, right? We're always moving forward onto that next thing. A chapter in my book, Healthy Living, Happy Life, which I have here. So if you're watching, you can see my book. If not, I am holding up a copy of Healthy Living, Happy Life, a practical path to finding a healthy lifestyle that works for you. And this book is not just about food and nutrition and exercise. It's about things like this. There's an entire chapter in this book that is dedicated to this very subject, about slowing down and focusing on the present moment so you can celebrate and enjoy your successes. Being fully present is, I love to say this, it's a powerful way to actually reduce your stress, cultivate a little joy. Think about this. What brings you joy? Most of us can't say that we know what brings us joy because we haven't thought about it, because there's always so many things that we're trying to do, right? So when we're fully present in the moment right now, when you're listening to this podcast, what are you doing? Are you cooking dinner? Are you working out? Are you actually listening? Are you typing? So if you are, that's fine, but you're only partly catching what I'm talking about. Right? This would be a great thing, in the morning when you're sitting there having your coffee, just sitting and listening, right? Just, would be a great thing to listen to help you cultivate this ability to slow down and to live in the moment. Try this. Okay. Take three deep breaths before you start your next task, whatever that might be. If you're at work, checking email. Hate checking email because there's always a million things that don't mean anything, right? I said before, drink your coffee, savor your coffee. Little bits and pieces of mindfulness totally add up. If you're driving and you get stuck in traffic, you know what? That's not a bad thing. You can listen to some calming music. You could just sit and have thought, think of all the things you're grateful for, right? You can listen to headbanger music because that's apparently what my husband does. And I only know that because every time I get in my car after he's driven it, there is headbanger music really loud on the radio. Anyway, the point is these moments help you to reconnect with yourself at the present moment, be in the present moment. So when you're with your loved ones, you can actually do this without it being difficult. You can actually be present and enjoy it. It would be very much more natural than if you were just sitting there going, okay, I'm trying to be in the moment. Because we do that, we try to be present when we're not typically, but then we're also thinking, okay, I am being present. I'm listening to you. Just because you're listening doesn't necessarily mean you're present. So work on this and you'll see the nuances. Gratitude. I love to talk about gratitude. You probably hear me say this in every podcast. I'm going to bring it up because gratitude is such a great tool for living in the moment. What right now are you grateful for? I am really grateful right now that the light that is on the other side of this camera is making my skin look really glowy. I don't know if I glow that much in real life, but it looks good. So I'm pretty happy about it. So I'm grateful for that. All right. What are you grateful for? It definitely improves your mood. It reduces stress. Oh, and what did we talk about before with stress? The lower stress, lower cortisol. We can sleep better. If we're sleeping, our melatonin is doing its thing. Cortisol is doing its thing. It's not completely disrupting our hormones. Some of those hormones are already estrogen, progesterone, testosterone. They're already doing their things, but we want to make sure that our cortisol and melatonin are working well so we can sleep well. Studies show that, as I said, gratitude improves your mood, reduces your stress. So that's not just me saying that, that is actual studies. Again, start if you haven't started one already, because I know I talk about this all the time, start your journal practice. Again, it's a practice. It's just like a yoga practice. It's just like going to football practice or baseball practice. The more you do it, the better you get at it, right? So it's a simple practice that you'll find has profound results. So let's talk about this piece about intentional living, saying yes to what matters to you. Now, this does go back to your core values. And if you haven't really taken the time to sit and figure out what those are, this would be a really good time, right? Because intentionality is all about aligning with your actions with your values. What does matter to you? What brings you joy? What brings you energy? What brings you love? Write it all down. And then use these values to guide you when it comes to making your decisions, intentional decisions. Again, a few minutes ago, I said, if something's not a hell yes, it's a hell no, right? How many times have you been roped into, volunteering for something that you're really not that interested in, but you really should because your friend asked, and now the day has come and you're like, I really don't want to do this. But you go, you have a million of things you'd rather be doing, but you don't. You do this thing that you told your friend that you would do, even though it doesn't align with who you are and what you believe. Not as good, right? The key to intentional living, or another key to intentional living is setting boundaries. As women, we're really bad at this, right? We have allowed our families to basically take over. We have no boundaries. Their wants, needs, and desires come first, right? And I mean, how many times, think about this when when you have young kids, you're in the bathroom, you're in the shower, you're fixing your hair, and the kids like burst into the bathroom because they need to get in there. Really bad if you have teenagers. I remember that as a teenager. Sorry, mom. Right? Boundaries. If the door is closed, don't come in, right? But we never say that. So say no to commitments that don't align with those, with your priorities, your desires. The author of Essentialism, the disciplined pursuit of less, says, again, this is where I got this. Okay. If it isn't a clear yes, it's a clear no. Okay. I like to say, if it's not a hell yes, it's a hell no. So this is something an author who has been studying this for years came up with. So yes, so I guess for all this time, I have been quoting Greg McKeown. So thank you, Greg McKeown, for allowing me to quote you. Again, saying yes to what really matters, you'll find more time, more energy, more joy, more fulfillment in your day every day. And you will start to notice ease and flow in life as opposed to stress and frustration, and you'll stop pulling your hair out of your head. So deeper connections, this was something that my friend Elizabeth said was a bit unexpected in her community, but it is something that is incredibly meaningful. Because these are genuine connections, right? Like I said before, I know a lot of people, but who am I really connected to? I mean, my closest connections, obviously, my husband, my sister, my niece and my nephew, my mom. my friend Suzanne. Those are the people that I have the deepest connections to. And I'm glad I've always cultivate those relationships, right? But what about in my neighborhood? Who do I know in my neighborhood? I know my neighbors next door. We have some new neighbors across the street, don't know them. We have some new neighbors 2 doors down. I did see them. I did meet them at one time in the fall. I have a couple of friends in town. One had a baby about a year and a half ago, so I don't get to see her so much. So is that connection falling apart? Not if I don't let it, right? Pick up the phone, text. This is how you start, to keep your connections alive, right? So getting back to Elizabeth, when Elizabeth moved to Mexico, she found a really supportive community that rallied around each other in times of need. From what I understand, just a couple of days after they moved in, they lost their electricity went out. And even though they didn't know these people yet, these people came who lived in the neighborhood came to help to find out, for them, is it something that's in the house? Is it something outside? How could they help them? Whatever it was. So already this was a community of people who wanted these type of tight-knit connections. Do we have those kind of tight-knit connections in our neighborhoods nowadays? I find it interesting that people who live in a community, whether it's a 55 and over community, a gated community, something like that, versus a neighborhood where, 8 o'clock in the morning, people go to work, they come home at 5 o'clock, the kids do whatever, and they don't really spend a lot of time talking with their neighbors anymore. People that live in a community, they see each other all the time. They're walking down the street and they say hello. They're going to bingo, or they're going to bocce, or whatever they're doing. There are things that they're doing together. In our neighborhoods nowadays, are we doing those things? Are we actually connecting? Do we know our neighbors? Like I said, I know my neighbor who's next door. I sold them a property that, where they built their house. But do I really know them? I know who they are. I know their son, right? But how well do I know them? That is a relationship that I really haven't cultivated, right? Do you know your neighbors? How close are you? How about the people 2 houses down? When we were growing up, we actually had neighbors. We knew our neighbors across the street, 1, 2, 3, 4 houses across the street, and the people who lived on the right side of us. Okay, we knew those people. They had kids. We played together, whatever. So that was a unique time. People don't do that anymore. They don't have those connections. Kids go to school, they go and they do their sports or do whatever. They come home, they might go back out for another sport or activity, right? But again, they're not really making connections in their community with the people who live right next door. You can build a community. It just takes a little bit of effort. Now, another way you can do this, of course, if it's not your neighbor, but in your neighborhood, in your town, join a group of like-minded people, right? Whether it's a book club or a pickleball league. What I don't keep picking on pickleball. Or if you're a creative person, why not sign up to teach a class? Or why not even, take a class, right? These are great things. You're going to meet people, like-minded people. You can, chat with there, get to know a little bit, invite for coffee, and actually start to really cultivate a connection, because you know from the beginning that you actually already have something in common with someone, right? This is going to foster a genuine relationship as opposed to somebody that I just know, right? And it also gives you a great sense of belonging. There are many times when I feel in Rochester, if I moved tomorrow, nobody would know. It would take 6 months before somebody knew that I left. That's kind of sad. Now, granted, I am in and out quite a bit. Just the way Mark's schedule is and my schedule is. So sometimes I don't feel like I belong here. I'm working on rectifying that. I joined a women's group in town. I'm part of the chamber. I go to their events. Right. So again, I'm connecting with people who already I know I have something in common with. So surround yourself with people who uplift and inspire you. And if it's not the people that you know right now, go find those people. I mentioned decluttering before, decluttering your space, decluttering your office, decluttering your car, decluttering your purse, ladies, really helps you to declutter your mind. It really helps that decluttering gives you mental clarity. Because when you have so much stuff, it's really hard to kind of get through. It's kind of hard to get through the stuff. You start to feel bogged down. You start to feel emotionally heavy, right? And it could just be, I know this, I'm very much like this. When I come to work in the morning, if my desk is a mess, I can't do anything until the desk is cleaned, right? Everything has to be in its certain place. Then my mind works differently because I'm not constantly looking for things because I didn't put them away in, in a proper place where I could find it, whatever it might be. Right. And I have this one drawer upstairs in the kitchen. Um, it's kind of my everything drawer, but I go through it probably once a month because yeah, sometimes there are things I'm like, oh, I want to look at that. I want to look at that again another time. I put it in that drawer. Well, if a month has gone by and I haven't looked at it, guess what? I'm probably not going to need it. I probably won't, and I'm not going to need it. Chuck it out, right? Um, Another thing that I think is really important, getting rid of things that are broken. This needs to be fixed. Yeah, it needed to be fixed 5 years ago, right? Things that are outdated. How many old iPods or pieces of technology do you have in a closet somewhere? Guess what? Clutter. Clutter is heavy. Get rid of it. It's outdated anyway. I had in the closet that's here in my office. I had an old VCR. I don't know about you, but we haven't had a VCR attached to our TV in probably 15 years. So why was I keeping it? I didn't even think it worked. So all of that goes. Things that no longer serve you. Ladies, go through your closet. I'm telling you, if you're holding on to clothes that you're like, oh, I'm going to fit into this again, right? And you're holding on to it for more than a year, get rid of it. It's holding you back, right? It is holding you back. Get rid of it. Donate it. Give it to somebody who can really appreciate it and really enjoy it, right? Donate it. Let it go. And when you find something new that fits you, that looks good on you, enjoy that. I have adopted a simple rule. Anytime I bring something new into my house, I have to let something go. Let's practice. Practice. Yeah, it's a practice. It's a practice, just like yoga practice and everything. Because it's still kind of new. I'm still kind of learning this. It's actually been liberating. It helps me realize that I don't need all of the stuff that I once thought I needed to make me happy, except shoes. I know I said that before, but except shoes. Love my shoes. And yes, do I have a couple pair of shoes that are probably a little outdated? Probably. Am I still going to wear them if they fit and look good? Probably. Guess what? If I try them on and they don't look good or they don't fit right or they just look silly now, guess what? They're gone. I'd like to say the same goes for your schedule. I mentioned this before. I'm a I'm a list person. If something needs to be done, it goes on the list. Now, the list usually goes onto the calendar. So like, for example, I got a text earlier from the dry cleaners. My dry cleaning is ready. So I put it on my calendar. On Wednesday, I have to pop out. I'll be on that side of town. So what did I put on there? Next to the event that I need to attend, it says, pick up dry cleaning. Yes, I could write it on a list, carry that around. I'm really good at writing things down and carrying an index card, carry an index card in my purse all the time. And it usually has a few things that, that I need. Oftentimes it's stuff I need to pick up at the supermarket, right? If you don't write it down, you don't remember, right? And that's, really an amazing thing. Writing everything down reduces mental clutter. And so once I write it down, I don't have to be like, oh, don't forget. Oh, don't forget to do this because I've written it down. And I have it on a card in my purse. So I'm going to see it. So I'm not going to forget it. The other thing about your calendar, really, it simplifies your commitments. Again, if it's not a hell yes, it's a hell no, and get rid of it. This actually allows you the space to put in your calendar time for reflection, time for creativity. I like to do calligraphy. I haven't done it in a long time, like 2 years. But I started to put it on my calendar, just for half an hour. Well, yes, it's something fun that I enjoy. But right now, until it becomes a habit, I put it on my calendar. So I've actually opened up some space for some fun stuff, right? Do the same thing for connecting with people. Meet somebody for coffee that you haven't met with in a long time, right? What I want you to take away from this truly is a simpler, more intentional life isn't just possible, it is transformative. And you don't have to move to Mexico like my friend, although she looks pretty damn happy where she is. But by saying no to what doesn't align with your values, you create space for the things that truly matter to you, the things that you want to do, the things that drive you, the things that are purposeful to you. So take your first step today. Define what those core values are and reflect on why they're important to you. And this is about you. It's not about why things are important to everybody else around you. It's all about you. If you need some support, schedule a free strategy session with me. Together, we will identify your next steps on your journey toward a life of greater ease and fulfillment. Okay? Remember, you don't have to move to another country to experience the benefits of a slower, more intentional life. It starts small, intentional changes right here, right now. Thank you for joining me today. If you found this episode fun or helpful, please share it with a friend and leave me a review. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Also, please feel free to reach out to me on social media. Let me know some of the topics that you want to hear, things that are affecting you in midlife. Okay? So until next time, take care, embrace the power of intentional living. And as always, I try to leave you with this: healthy living, happy life. Have a great week, everyone.